Hi guys, I'm Nitin. You're watching B4U, and today we are going to be checking out a very special sneak peek at the brand new movie Hotel Mumbai. Now, it's actually a true story and it documents the terrorist siege that took place in Mumbai at the Taj Hotel back in 2008. We're going to be talking with a couple of the actors, Nazanin Boniadi and Jason Isaacs, as well as the director, Anthony Maris. Now, it also stars Dev Patel, and like I said, I've had a sneak peek. It's pretty awesome. So, without any further ado, let's go check it out.
There's still some of the good stuff left. Single malt. 20 years old.
What the hell was that?
Stay down.
It's chaos out here, sir. We're doing all we can.
Have you sent the men in?
I'm sorry, what, man?
The rescue squad?
Yes, Mr. Oberoi. We sent in a squad hours ago, but most were killed.
Guys, it's great to have you on the show. I'm actually going to get stuck right in here. I got to have a little sneak peek at the movie yesterday, and I'm kind of a little bit lost for words. It was a great movie. I loved watching it, but at times, you know, it was almost difficult to watch, and I found myself, you know, noticing some of the other people in the cinema, and they constantly had expressions on their face of mouth open or hand on their face or something like that. I wanted to start by first asking you guys, when you first got to see this film for the first time, final edited version, what was going through your mind? What were you thinking?
I was really emotional. First time I saw it on a big screen was Toronto Film Festival with everyone, and I was just sort of constantly in tears. We got up on stage and I remember I couldn't compose myself. I couldn't stay, you know, I couldn't help but cry because it's impactful. This is someone who's filmed the film. I've read the script. I knew what the story was, but it's gut-wrenching and it's jolting and it's confronting. But it also fills you with such hope that we can be and do better.
Yeah. It's a massive cinematic experience. That's why it's best to see it in the cinema. So it's an incredible debut from the filmmakers, his first feature film, which is unbelievable. But also, having gone through the ringer, like you said, everybody in there is gripped for a couple of hours. Hopefully you come out the way we did, feeling like this toxic nonsense we're told about how much divides us is nonsense, because this is a real life story where skin colour and religion and money evaporated the second the chips were down and people helped each other. And you know, it's a story of quiet heroism. The heroes don't have guns in our story. And so you come out thinking maybe human beings are better than we're told.
And very good. Turn around. Okay, good. Very good. Show me your socks. Okay, relax. You need a neat cut, not this trickling down. Good. Nice. Relax. Good.
Is this a joke? Give me, sir. I lost my shoes. They must have fallen from my bag. Go home, Arjun.
Everyone else, let's move.
Sir, please.
Please what? You look like a beggar.
Sir, please, I'll find some shoes. I need this shift.
You need to leave.
Sir, please. My wife's going to give birth any day now. Please.
There's an extra pair of shoes in my room, under the desk.
Thank you, sir.
Hurry up!
The movie itself was great, obviously a true story. How much of this film was actually true to what happened? Because you had so many situations going on within it. I don't want to spoil too much for the guys at home who haven't seen it yet, but the staff, for example, in this film were so incredibly brave, sometimes giving up apparently giving up their own life for the guests, you know, or their own safety. So how much of it was actually true to what happened?
How much of the story is true? All of it, and much more. The staff, there were 1,500 guests in the hotel, and 32 people tragically lost their life. Half of those were staff members. The kitchen staff were doing things like putting baking trays down their shirts as improvised bulletproof vest. They would lead people out of the hotel, guests out of the hotel, and they had families, young families, and they would come back in and save the millionaires and billionaires. The staff were magical. You wouldn't believe it if it hadn't happened in real life. If someone wrote it, you wouldn't believe it. They were truly magnificent.
And it's something we can all aspire to. We're so used to seeing Hollywood heroes, you know, and superheroes, but here are everyday heroes, people that, you know, we don't realise the strength and the resilience that we have, perhaps until we're surrounded or immersed in these kind of horrible situations.
Yeah, it's always difficult to portray these kind of real life situations that have actually occurred in the past, but did that put any additional pressure on you guys? Because you'd want to get it right. It's obviously a big event. You don't want to be portraying anything incorrectly. So did it put extra pressure on you?
Well, the pressure actually is not to act, because this is a real story, and to get our own egos out of the way and not to pull any of the normal tricks that you see actors doing, because the real life story is so amazing and so inspiring that we wouldn't want the audience to be distracted by any of the traditional kind of tricks that actors pull.
Wow.
Hello.
Namaste.
Where are you from? Splendid to have you back with us again.
Thank you.
Namaste.
And this is Sally, our nanny.
Welcome. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you
And
so
welcome.
much.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
This is cool.
We hope you'll have a good stay.
Thank you. Thanks, Prab.
And so please, if you'd follow me.
Everything that you ordered has been placed, but if you need anything else, please feel free to ask.
Prabha,
Nisha's just taking them up now, sir.
have you booked their dinner reservations?
Yes, sir. 9 p.m. at the Shamiana.
Just book a table for them in all our restaurants. If she changes her mind and we don't have room, her mother is gonna kill me.
Doing it now, sir.
This way?
Welcome back to the Taj.
Wow.
I've drawn a bath just to your liking. 48 degrees.
Thank you, Jamal. That's too kind.
Oh,
Where's
look
my
at
little
that.
boy?
Amazing.
Now, guys, this movie is one of these movies now that are coming out in the cinema on September the 27th, but also simultaneously it's coming out on Sky Cinema, so people can watch it if they've got Sky at home at the same time. As actors, how does this make you feel? Do you have any sort of thoughts on that?
I think there's nothing like watching a story in a big dark room with hundreds of other people, because it connects you as human beings, and it makes you feel less alone.
I fully understand that, you know, there are families who can't get away, you know, can't get a sitter, and there are situations where people can't maybe get to the cinema. So I fully understand that sort of wanting to see it in the comfort of your own
But
home.
if you can,
I'd
say see it on a giant screen,
I
giant
highly
sound,
recommend
with other people.
it, yes.
Well, guys, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure everyone's going to check out this film on September 27th. It is pretty awesome, and it did touch a special nerve. So thank you very much, and good luck.
Hope
I
so.
hope so.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Sally, what's happening?
These are for the Sindhi wedding in the ocean room. The kimchis are for the trade delegation and wasabi. The MPs are already at the Hubba Bar, quite drunk.
More lemongrass, huh?
Arjun, stop limping. Yeah, more lemongrass.
हाँ जी, ठीक है.
What about the Russian?
Booked into the Shamiana, sir. He has party later. He wants help.
Okay, everyone. Everyone listen and please. Come on, leave that. Come on, come here, come here. Yeah. Okay, come on, come hurry up. Yeah, छोड़ दो उसको. इधर आओ. इधर आओ. So, we have another VIP guest dining at the Shamiana tonight. Vasily Doteski.
Sir.
He can be difficult.
Mr. Godetsky, so nice to see you again.
Whatever he says, just smile, be polite, be courteous. Remember always, here at the Taj, guest is God.
Anthony, it's great to have you on the show. I saw the movie, I got a little sneak peek, and like I've said it before, it was an emotional experience. You know, everyone was reacting to it. They couldn't sit still. There was some expression on their face, or their hand was on their face, or something, because of what they were watching. Does that make you, are you aware of that? Have you seen people watch it? Other people watching?
You know, yeah. It's always, you know, it's always a thing to be a filmmaker and audience with your films. Prior to this, I've only made short films, so I haven't had too much of it. But yeah, I'm constantly surprised with Mumbai, the sort of visceral reactions it seems to evoke in people. And like you're saying, it's, you know, like this,
Yeah.
or, you know, at one point when we were in Toronto, we were at a second or third screening. I was so tired, I almost basically had fallen asleep because we were just doing so much. But it was actually the reactions of the woman and her friend below me that kept me awake. I was kept going, oh my God, look at this. And she was like, oh, no, you don't. And all this sort of stuff. It was, you know, we try to put people, you know, in the middle of these attacks, and having sat across the table from so many people who lived through it, who survived the attacks, both staff and guests and other people who were involved, you know, it becomes so vivid as a filmmaker listening to these stories, and you hear all these different layers. And the real challenge that, you know, I faced with my co-writer and then with the rest of my team when we were making the film is, how do we convey that? Like, how do we put people into the shoes of others who had to live through this? And so, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say it's satisfying to hear that it's having that effect on people, because we'd always hope that that would be the case.
Yeah, well, it certainly was. I can certainly contest to that. I thought, let's just go back a sec. I think you touched on it a little bit there. I want to know, where did this idea, where did this interest spark for you? Right, okay, I want to make a movie, a full feature on, because of course it's a real live event. It actually happened. Where did that come from?
Like, I, to be honest, didn't know too much about the attacks before having seen this documentary called Surviving Mumbai. And that documentary was made by a team who were some of the first people on the ground after the attacks had happened, and were interviewing, again, many guest survivors and other people. And after seeing that documentary, it kind of really hit me. I was like, wow, I really only knew of these attacks as a series of burning buildings or some distraught faces, maybe some facts and figures as to death and injury counts and other things like that. But it was seeing the doco that kind of opened my eyes, like, wow, there's far more to this story. You know, there are people, everyday people, who come from all these different walks of life.
Yeah.
Rich people, poor people, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, atheists, like people from all sorts of different walks of life who, when the attacks happened, they didn't really have any officials to turn to because Mumbai was overwhelmed by what had happened, and all they had was each other. And, you know, you had these incredible stories of survival and resilience, and in some cases, like perfect strangers, selflessly being there for one another, protecting one another, and they kind of got through it. You know, obviously it was a horrific tragedy what happened, but there's another side to it where, if you look at the Taj in particular, there's over 1,000 people in the hotel that night. More than 99% lived, despite being shot at, bombed, burnt, you know, you name it. Everything you know, they tried to do everything to these people, and so many survived. And it's easy to get caught up in the sheer brutality of what happened, which was everywhere. But the other side to it is that so many of these people got through it because they were there for one another. And more than anything, you know, I hadn't known about that. That was something I was, you know, privileged to be able to explore. And that's what I hope the film kind of celebrates, you know, the incredible heroism, you know, of the guests, particularly obviously of the staff, and also to try and get into what it is that drives, you know, the terror that causes, what was driving the gunman to doing it. And, you know, and that was important. Like, we spent, you know, many months poring over the different transcripts of Ajmal Kasab, the sole surviving terrorist. One of our producers is a QC, is a lawyer from Australia who knew and who has contacts with both the judge, the prosecutor, and the defense counsel of Ajmal Kasab. And so we were able to very quickly to get our hands on, all of the court case transcripts, the evidence, the phone intercepts of the terrorists and their handlers back in Pakistan. So you had a real-time reading of what they were saying, what they were thinking, what they were doing. All that stuff that you hear in the film, they're talking, like a lot of that is lifted verbatim from those transcripts. When you see our cast acting as the terrorists acted, they're looking at the CCTV footage to see how it was they were doing it. They went into a lot of detail to see the indoctrination that they went through back in the camps in Pakistan, how they, made huge efforts in training these young men to totally depersonalize everyone who wasn't in their group. So it's like if you and me are sitting here now talking and a fly was, or a mosquito was to come here and I swat it, we could still go on having a conversation and laughing and carrying on. It's just a fly. It's with that same attitude that these young men had when they went into that building. And what was really fascinating in a not in a positive way, but what was fascinating nonetheless was in listening to, not listening because I don't understand the language they're speaking, but in reading the transcripts of the gunmen and seeing how they went in some cases thinking, or in all cases thinking what they're doing is right. But as the days went on, you started to see that sort of, that erode, and it sort of culminated in a scene which I won't give away, but where the gunman is told to do one thing and events happen and he realizes, shit, this is not right. And he goes against the orders that he's being told to commit. And so that opens up another avenue of the story, which is, it's easier to call those gunmen monsters, and what they did was evil, sure, but it's not the flesh and blood of those 10 men that's the only problem. It's unfortunately a far bigger problem than that. It's what are the conditions that cause them to be radicalized, what ideology is being fed to them that make this happen. So these are all things that we're trying to get at.
Nice. So Anthony, I wanted to talk a little bit about, this movie has a phenomenal cast attached to it. I want to talk a little bit about Dev Patel's character. He plays Arjun. Now, is my understanding correct? You when making this film, you obviously met so many people, some of the survivors. Arjun who plays one of the staff, one of the waiters, is an amalgamation of several stories that you...
He is.
Is that right?
He's a composite of several characters. Like, real early on in developing this film, we had many survivors who were happy to talk to us, who were happy to give us research materials. Some of them were happy for us to use their name and likeness, but several weren't. They were hesitant about that. For different reasons, they didn't want that to happen. And so there was like a kind of moral debate what we do about that. And, to honor their wishes, we, basically had to conceal their identities in terms of their names, in some cases their ethnicities and other things like that. And so other than those who were famous beforehand, Chef Hemant Oberoi is very well known in Mumbai, so we couldn't tell the story without him. People would know who he was.
Played by Anupam Kher, of course.
Played by Anupam Kher. And so he, his story remains intact. The police, the same thing. But for the guests who checked in as private citizens, and for the many staff members who just turned up to work, we made a blanket decision to conceal their identities. So in some cases, there was amalgamations. And it's important to remember that the key things that happen in the film actually happen to people in real life. It's just, for instance, in the case of Dev Patel, it's based on a waiter who was a waiter in one of the ground floor restaurants at the Taj, who heroically, got many people to sort of be calm and sort of got them to hide underneath the tables. He turned off the lights. When he was in communication with Oberoi a lot, he ferried them to safety at great risk to himself. But then his storyline, the character storyline where he goes up to take the police up to the CCTV room and thereby giving critical information, that was another Taj staff member whose story was amalgamated with the first guy we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a remarkable the way you've done that. I actually was talking to a friend of mine whose relative was there at the time
when it happened,
under the table, like you depicted.
Wow, in Shamiana?
In the movie. Sorry?
In the Shamiana restaurant?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, well, we should get him to see the film.
Yeah, and the survivors as well, so it's really great to see. And the final thing I'll ask you, the movie's obviously coming out in UK cinemas on the 27th of September, simultaneously on Sky Cinema.
Yeah.
Was that a decision you were involved with? Are you?
It was. It's Sky Cinema. I think will do a great job with the film. We're really keen, particularly to get it sort of screened here in the UK because it does have such a huge South Asian population. I think Sky are doing a great job, as are Altitude, who are the company that are putting it out at cinemas. And I'm just ecstatic that the life of the film keeps on going. It's coming out in India in the end of November in concert with the the anniversary of the attacks. So the film has travelled and played far and wide. So it's good.
It's good stuff. Well, Anthony, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Best of luck.
it. Thank you.
There's still some of the good stuff left. Single malt. 20 years old.
What the hell was that?
It's chaos out here, sir. We're doing all we can.
Have you sent the men in?
I'm sorry, what, man?
The rescue squad?
Yes, Mr. Oberoi. We sent in a squad hours ago, but most were killed.